Hi friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my November art journaling video. I am so excited to be squeaking this one in. Today is the 29th, so there's only one day left of November and I have just been really sick again, so it's taken me a while to get this video done, but hopefully we're going to tackle it today. So I have a few things set aside for today's spread. First of all, I have these Mintay papers. They're called Written Memories, and I just think they're absolutely gorgeous. So it's like vintage writing themed, which is right up my alley, and I'll explain why as we get into the video. But I have those. I have a few bits of ephemera. I have some different washi tape stickers and some little phrases and stuff. All of these are washi tape stickers. A little ticket. I have my washi tape. I have my Tim Holtz Small Talk stickers that I use for my titles. For color today, I thought I would go back to my Faber-Castell Gelatos. These are the Iridescents. So I have 3 colors pulled aside for now, and we'll see how we go. And then as far as my personal item, I always like to include something from my life in my pages. I actually have some receipts from antique shopping earlier this month. I went on a date with my husband to a couple antique shops and got a few things. I had a really great antiquing day, so I have my receipts and I thought I would try to combine those into my page. So I'm going to set everything off to the side and protect my work surface with a little mat, and then we're going to jump into the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up my art journal. This is the one that I use. It's always linked in the description bar below. It is from Amazon and it is watercolor paper. And the first thing that I do is I always line the seam of my page because I like to work in a 2-page spread. And my book, it has perforated pages. You can kind of see that so that you're able to tear out the sheets if you want to. I do not want my sheets to come apart. I want my book to stay whole, so I just go ahead and lay down a layer of protection with the washi tape so that nothing gets wet and kind of helps those papers start to separate. It also prevents any like leaking of other mediums onto your other pages. If that doesn't bother you, you certainly don't have to do this step, but that's how I like it. I like my page to be fairly neat and tidy when I start, so it's kind of a blank canvas. I'm just gonna help this little bit along with my scissors here. Okay, so sometimes you get like a little bit that kind of comes from the page before, and that's not a big deal at all. Like that I don't mind, but I just don't want like a whole bunch of stains seeping in from the other pages. And I'm just going to trim this off with my scissors too, because those little bits are too hard to tear with your fingers. And then I'm going to just grab a couple more pieces here just to like give a little bit of extra texture to the page, have some interest on there. Also, if you are intimidated by the blank page, this kind of helps you get over that right away, because already within, the first couple seconds of laying things down, it's no longer a blank page. There's stuff going on. So just sticking that down and purposely letting it get like a little bit of wrinkles and stuff in it, because that also adds to the texture. Alright, so just take another little piece here and add a tiny bit more here and there. No rhyme or reason at this point, just kind of layering things up. I'm even allowing some of it to overlap, just whatever. Like I said, a lot of this probably won't even be seen in the final project, but it just adds that layer of something down so that you don't feel like, like you don't know where to start. So let me just take some of these tags as well. These are just on like little plastic backing sheets, and I'll have links to all of these down in the description bar as well. They are affiliate links to my Amazon affiliate account, so if you purchase something and you use the links down below, it does help support my channel. But with Amazon, you have to check out within 24 hours or it doesn't count, so just bear that in mind. Also, you don't have to only purchase the stuff that I've linked. In fact, you don't have to purchase anything I've linked. So if you're going to be doing some Christmas shopping on Amazon and you want to just help support my channel, you can click on one of the links to get you there, and then as long as you check out, I believe that's how it works, as long as you check out within the 24 hours of clicking there, I should get credit for any of your purchases. So it doesn't cost you anything, but helps support, you know, myself or other artists, and it's just, you know, a great way to support the channels that you love, whether it's mine or anybody's. If any, you know, somebody you know is doing affiliate links, it always is helpful. Let me just add these a few places as well, just here and there, wherever. No rhyme or reason again, just kind of sticking things down, not being too precious about it. I've got some floral washies as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and tear this so that I can use it in more than one place. Maybe we'll pop some over there so we have some of that little script showing through, and maybe over here as well. And there's another one. These are nice because they're just a really quick and easy way to add some color. So I tried to pick like florals that were going to tie into the colors that are in the pattern paper that I'll be using. So, you know, if they get covered up, fine, and if they end up showing little bits and pieces of them, then it'll all just kind of tie together and be really nice and cohesive. And by the way, these stickers that I'm using are like, they come in a big pack with a whole bunch of other ones as well. Like I said, all that will be linked down below. Tear this one too. Maybe we'll just put a little bit in here and there. Okay, and then also included in those, there were these little scripts. It's almost like bits of poetry, and like all together they don't make any sense whatsoever. But I kind of just cut a few lines apart that I thought were kind of pretty and had a bit of an autumn theme. So this one says something like, "Died as the quiet beauty of autumn leaves." So I thought I might throw that in there. Let's see, maybe something up there. And this one says, "I heard the echo from the valleys and the heart, open to the lonely soul of sickle harvesting." So it is quite silly, but like I said, a lot of it is going to get covered up. So if I want to later on, if I'm able, I can kind of like pick and choose little words to highlight. So I just thought I'd throw it in there, you know. Sickle harvesting, that's fall, right? So it just kind of goes with the month that we're in. So just stick that one there. All right, and I've got this clock that I thought I'd throw in since we just had daylight savings time this month. We're getting close to the end of year, so it just kind of helps give a nod to the passage of time. So I have terrible fingernails, so it's a little bit tricky for me to get these started, but I always just try to find a corner that where I can kind of grab it. So let me see. I'll just tear off the ends since they kind of hang down too low. And again, I apologize for my voice. Like I said, I've caught my husband's cold again, so I just It's going around. It's really going around again. I was at work yesterday and like everybody there was coughing and sneezing. So it's not just me. It seems to be everywhere again. But yeah, I'm sick again. I was sick a month ago and now I'm sick again. It's just one of those things, one of those times of year, right? So let me grab my glue. The glue that I use is the Elmer's Craft Bond Extra Strength. It's what I've used this whole time and I really do like it. I've had no issues at all with any of my pages like kind of coming up or you know, not being stuck down properly. So the only other option was to skip this month since tomorrow's the last day. So if I want this video to be up in time, you know, I have to get it up today. It's scheduled for tomorrow morning, so today was my last chance to get this video done, and I just didn't want to skip a month because I've been really consistent every month doing one art journaling spread. Went antique shopping with my husband the other day. I don't collect a ton of things, but I do collect vintage writing implements, I guess you would say. I don't have any pens or quills or anything like that, but I collect, well, it started with inkwells. I absolutely love antique inkwells. Most of mine are glass, but I have a few that are like brass or something else as well. And then what else? I also have 2 typewriters. I really love those. That's where my heart is, but those are kind of like big ticket items. And it's not something that you can like travel to collect. You know, it's not really something you can take on a plane or whatever. So usually I stick to smaller things like the inkwells. But like I said, I also have the typewriters and then what else? I got a vintage globe this time, which is something that I've been wanting for a really long time. And so that was a huge success. And then I also found this little vintage library card catalog, which is another item that has been on my wish list for a super long time. I'll pop a photo of what I got in the video right here if I remember. And then I also got, what else? I got, now these, I'm not sure, I have a really hard time telling the receipt papers. I've had it in the past, like where I've used movie tickets and they disappeared on me. So I'm not sure if this will actually stay. I can't tell if this is that kind of paper or not. So this might not end up sticking around. It might disappear. The ink on the page might disappear on these little slips once I add some gesso and heat set it. So they may not stay and I just have to be okay with that. But I just thought it would be fun to kind of include them in the page. And if they don't show up, then, you know, I'll just have to stick something else on top. So this one, I thought, this is my favorite place, the Whistle Stop Antiques. I just think it's like it's a big antique store, but it's like a bunch of different vendors in one store. So you get a huge variety of stuff because it's all these different antique sellers, and they just like rent the space inside, so you just kind of go from booth to booth, and I find some really cool stuff there. I've been really lucky. So that's this one, the Whistle Stop, which is fun because the Whistle Stop Cafe, if you guys have ever read Fried Green Tomatoes by Fannie Flagg, it was also made into a movie, so you may have seen the movie if you haven't read the book. But the cafe in that book is called the Whistle Stop, so it's kind of fun. Anyway, so I had a really good day antiquing. It was really fun. I like to collect things that have a history and a story to them. It's just, I don't know, like knowing that someone else used it and maybe cherished it, even that it was a part of their daily life, just gets my mind going about, you know, different possibilities and stories. And actually, this place here that we went to, that was the first time I'd ever been there. This is another store like that where it's a bunch of different sellers in one store. So that was really fun because those are like, then it's like really a treasure hunt. You just never know what you're going to find. It's really cool. And then this place right here was like half floral shop, half antique store. So that was cool too, just really different. Let's see. So I think I'm going to jump into my pattern paper next because before I get kind of too crazy, I want to pick out what imagery I'm going to be using and kind of decide on a layout. So, isn't this stunning? Look at this. You can tell why, like, my heart was in this. I also collect vintage books. So we've got vintage books, we've got a vintage typewriter, vintage inkwell. There's a telephone there. I do not have a vintage telephone, but just the florals and everything, the old papers, it's just so stunning. So I think I'm going to use this one for sure. There's also this gorgeous page, which I could end up using that. I love this typewriter. I think it's so beautiful with that navy blue. So maybe I'll take that one out too. And then I even have a magnifying glass. Look, there's one of those seals, the stamp seals for your wax seals for a letter. So that imagery would be really beautiful. I'm just not sure how much room I'm going to have on the page. I do like this ledger on the back though. That's really cool. Anything else? That's really pretty too. And then there's some smaller imagery. I think I'm gonna start with these though. Do I want to use the typewriter? I almost think I do. I think I'm gonna cut this out. I think I'm gonna trim this out with scissors. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, writing has been my #1 passion since I was very young. Alright, so I started out as a reader. I was a really early reader, and I was obsessed with books as a kid. My mom used to like have to force me to go outside and play sometimes because I just wanted to stay inside and read all the time. Like, I escape into books, and like time can just like stand still. Like, I'll forget where I am because I'm just so absorbed in the story. I love that about books, and it really came in handy later in my childhood when I just felt like I needed to escape from, you know, what was going on as my family kind of imploded as a kid. But anyway, then in 6th grade, my teacher, I had changed schools. I changed schools many times. I went to 8 different schools in my 12 years of, you know, school. So I had just changed schools, and I had a brand new teacher, and she gave us an assignment to go home and write a poem. And I had never done that before. But I went home and I sat in my room and I was looking out the window at the clouds, and then this poem just started like coming to me about a cloud. And it was like as if the cloud were like a pet, you know, like it was about how the cloud was always there for me and never ran away or never blew away or whatever. Like, it just was always there. So obviously I was assigning my feelings of what was going on in my family to this poem as I was writing it, even if I wasn't aware that's what I was doing at the time. But anyway, writing that poem changed my life. I just fell in love with writing, and I have written ever since. I still write poetry occasionally. I wrote a lot of poetry as a teenager, like super angsty poetry about thinking I was in love or, whatever. But also stories, and novels has always been where my heart was. And many of you even know a few years ago, I was at a writer's conference because I was very, very involved in my writer's group. And I was at a writer's conference, and we did this thing that is called a read and critique. So it's voluntary, but basically you bring a synopsis plus the first 2 pages of your novel, and you're not allowed to put your name on it. And then it is read by a panel of industry professionals. So it could be other published authors, agents, editors, basically anybody in the publishing industry. There's like a panel of people who read it. Well, one person reads it. They all have copies and they follow along. And then they read it and they critique it. They tell you, first of all, immediately they'll stop if they would stop reading. Like if this were a submission on their desk, they will tell you exactly when they would have stopped reading, which is really helpful to know that you've kind of lost your audience, and that if it were going to like a real publisher, this is the point where they would be like, nope, I'm done. And then they will also like just tell you like what they liked about it, or where the fatal flaws are. If your writing is just like too flowery and there's not enough action, or if they think that your character is not interesting enough, or your character is interesting but the story doesn't start in the right place, whatever. They just give you, their professional opinion. And it's all anonymous, so you don't have to be embarrassed or anything, because they don't know who in the room whose work they're reading, right? I think, I don't know if I want I'm going to separate out the typewriter because I don't know if I want another one. If I'm going to have a big one, I don't know if it makes sense to have a small one on the other page, if that makes sense. I'm really big on scale, so we'll take that out. What else? Maybe this corner here. So I was terrified, but I decided, if I'm ever going to grow as a writer or make it in the industry, this is the time to do it, because you have their attention. They're here at this conference and they're willing to impart their wisdom to you. So, you'd be crazy not to do it, right? So I submitted my synopsis and the first 2 pages of my manuscript, and joined and listened, because they'll go back to back. They'll read, maybe 8 or 10. It's divided by genre into different rooms, so you have different professionals depending on what genre you're writing. And mine was historical fiction, so that's the room I was in. So they read my synopsis and hated it. And then they read my first 2 pages, and when the reader finished, there was dead silence in the room, and my heart just plummeted. It was awful. I thought, oh my God, they think I'm absolutely terrible. And then after a heartbeat, they all started kind of talking at once, and they actually really loved it. They were they they only had super nice things to say. Like I said, they hated the synopsis. So synopsis writing is something different because you're trying to get your entire story into like a paragraph. That's all we were allowed to submit was a paragraph, right? So it's very different to write a synopsis than it is to write the actual book, but it's something every writer has to do. You have to submit a synopsis with your manuscript, or you're not even going to be considered. That's just how it is. So they hated the synopsis. That needed a ton of work, obviously, but they loved my first 2 pages. And one of the people in that room was an agent, and she said, I know this is like against protocol, but I need to know who wrote this. So I raised my hand, and then afterwards, like, she came in and talked with me a whole bunch and basically wanted to represent me. And then I had to tell her, which I had not followed protocol, because you're really supposed to submit the first 2 pages of a finished manuscript, and I did not have a finished manuscript, not even close. I had not written the whole thing at all, or even close to the whole thing. I was still at the beginning. So I had to tell her, like, it's not done. I have not written this. And she was like, okay, well, go home and write this, and when it's done, I want to see it. So she gave me her business card and everything, and it was just like mind-blowing. It was unbelievable. So I went home and tried to work on it. I devoted, like, all my time to it and everything. Well, not all of my time, because obviously I was still doing YouTube at the time too. But it's so hard writing historical fiction, right? Because my book was set in rural Pennsylvania on a farm in the late 1920s into the 1930s, leading up into World War II. And I obviously never lived during that time, so it was really tricky to just find all the information and do all the research, and I just really struggled, and I'm a perfectionist, so I wrote a good portion of that story, and then I hit a plot twist that I just couldn't get myself out of. And the next thing I knew, it was a whole nother year, and we were back at the conference, and she was there again. And this time she had another agent friend. And so she started telling her friend about my book. And, I had to tell her, like, it's still not finished. I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed that it's not done. And, she was very nice about it, but obviously, she can't do anything for me until the manuscript is finished. So we were just chatting at like the cocktail night, and she was telling her friend about it, this other agent, and the other agent said, this sounds amazing. And she said, if she doesn't take it once it's done, I want you to send it to me. And so she gave me her business card. So I have had both of their business cards pinned up over my desk ever since. So I went home and kept working on it, and then the pandemic hit. And I don't know, I was just so burnt out by that point of working on this book and not being able to figure out what needed to happen in this one very important specific area of the book. And that NaNoWriMo was coming up, which I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's National Novel Writing Month, which is the month of November, I'm sorry. And I just decided maybe I needed a break, so I decided to take a month off of working on that book and try to draft something new. And so I started working on it's almost like a fantasy, but it's like realistic, but it was set on an island that doesn't exist. with like a people that doesn't exist. So it was kind of like fantastical, but there wasn't like magic or anything like that, or wizards or anything. It was, you know, like more, it was also like set in the past, historical. I hope this is interesting for you guys. I'm sorry, I'm not really even explaining what I'm doing, but I'm basically just tearing little bits of paper and adding it here and there, kind of behind what I want to add eventually, you know, my focal points. But anyway, I've had a lot of questions about, you know, this. So, you know, if my book ever came out and stuff, and obviously it did not. So I wrote and wrote and wrote for NaNoWriMo on this new project, and NaNoWriMo is intense. It's 50,000 words in a month, and it's the month where Thanksgiving is. My family does the turkey trot every year, so there's you know, a lot of stuff going on, and I just really burnt myself out because the whole time that we were in this pandemic, all of 2020, you know, the whole world was kind of like taking a rest and learning how to recover and slow down. And here I am barreling ahead. You know, at that time I was doing 3 videos a week on YouTube, plus writing an entire novel, and I just completely burned myself out. So at the end of NaNoWriMo of 2020, I was like, I'm done. I stopped writing. I continued going to writers groups on Zoom for a couple more months, and then I quit my writers group, which I had been a part of for over like 12 years or something, like a really long time. I just kind of walked away from everything. I was like, I can't anymore. I'm just so burnt out. So I haven't written since. The only thing that I have written is that on the day that the shutdown happened, which was March 16th, I believe, I started doing morning pages, and that is something that was developed by Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, and it's writing 3 pages in a notebook. There's mine, like it's a whole big notebook. 3 pages longhand, top to bottom, no more, no less, every single day. And I have been doing that since the pandemic started, and I never ever stopped. Like I have continued that to this day. That is one thing that I have not stopped doing, is like journaling every day. So aside from that, I have not written in 2 years now. And then, you know, this month, because it was November, so it was NaNoWriMo time again, I was just starting to kind of miss it. And even though it was crazy and intense, the whole process of, you know, killing yourself to write a novel in a short amount of time, I was just missing like the camaraderie and everything. And so I started thinking about writing a bit more, and like watching videos from authors talking about writing. And then I started thinking about a story that I had actually been writing before the one that I took to that read and critique. It was actually an idea for a series, a book series set in a small town, kind of like Sweet Magnolias or Virgin River or something like that, kind of. And so I started thinking about that lately, and that turned into like taking a few notes about it. I haven't really gotten any further than that. Well, I've made like Pinterest boards and stuff to find photos that inspire me, because I've always been a really visual person. Like when I first started writing books as a kid, I used to take the Sears and JCPenney's catalogs, the big ones that they used to send out, you know, in the holidays and stuff, and I would cut people out of the magazine and like make character sheets out of them. Like I would find my characters and then cut out their picture and write a bio, and then I would also I would create my own book cover by also, you know, just cutting out images and then making like a collage like what I'm doing now, but it would be like the book cover. So yeah, so I've always kind of done that kind of thing, and then just lately I've started doing it again. So I haven't actually written any pages, but I did start taking notes, and a few new characters have come to me. Like, I've always known the main character of the first book since then, because I did write part of that book for NaNoWriMo years ago, and then I always have the same problem. Like, I get to a place where I just don't know what will happen next, and then, you know, a new shiny idea comes along, and I kind of give in and think, oh, well, you know, I'll just work on this for now, and then I don't ever get back to the first thing. So I think I want to actually bring in more of this invoice, because this is going to cover up the two little bits there that I started with. So I think I'm going to just tear off like a little bit more and add like a few little patches over on the side, maybe, just to have that pink, because I think it does tie in nicely with the florals there. So yeah, that's my long story about writing. I get people that ask me every once in a while if my book ever came out, and no, it didn't, and I'm sure that that agent has forgotten about me by now. You know, it's been a long time. So yeah, oh, that's still not gonna show. Where do I want it then? Maybe right in here. Yeah, that'll be good. So I'll have to start over, and like I said, I'm not even working on that book right now that she wanted. So, you know, agents represent different genres and stuff to different publishing houses and whatever. So who's to say she would even be interested in the thing that I'm working on now? And so yeah, it is what it is, basically. I think someday I will definitely go back to that book, because that one is kind of like the book of my heart. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I just know that I'm meant to write that story. But I just feel like the research is too daunting for where I am. Like, I just don't know where to get all that research. Like, I have tried to like get out library books and just find research here and there, but it's so hard to get everything accurate, you know, to get down to like what it was really like to be someone living in that time period in the area that I'm writing about. And you know, there's just so many people out there who, like, if you get one detail wrong, they're like, oh, you know, don't read anything she writes because she doesn't know what she's talking about. You know, she said that this kind of chicken lays green eggs, and it's actually this kind of chicken, so you shouldn't read anything she writes for the rest of her life because she's doesn't know how to do her research. You know, like, just anything. Like, that's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean? Like, the internet today, with people being able to say whatever they want and people being able to fact check you, it's just kind of scary to write authentically about something that you didn't experience yourself and try to, you know, have something to say and be believable. So I don't know. I think I just need more experience as a writer to like figure out how to do it, you know, how to tell that story in the way that it needs to be told. So I think I'm going to go ahead and commit to this now. I think I'm going to go ahead and glue this down and then just trim off whatever is hanging over the edges. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So anyway, I'm sure you guys didn't come here to hear that whole story, but hopefully it was entertaining for you anyway. But that's definitely why I chose this theme today with the vintage writing bottles and typewriters and everything. It's just, like I said, it's been my #1 passion in my entire life since I was in 6th grade. You know, I was 12 years old. So that might not be something that everybody knows about me, but it's the truth. And I don't know. It's been kind of disorienting and lonely to have stepped so far away from it for all of this time. This 2 years, it's the longest time I've gone in my entire life since I was 12 without working on writing, you know, like fiction. And I don't know, it was kind of disorienting. It was like, who am I even now, you know? Like, I don't know. If you had asked me, like, what is one word that you would describe yourself as, writer is #1, you know? Like, it's just been who I am, like, even before I became a mother, before I became a wife. It was what kept me going through hard times in my childhood, and it was like the one thing that no matter what anybody else said about me, I knew to be true. And for the past 2 years, it's not been true anymore. And it was kind of awful in a way, but in another way, like, it's kind of what I needed. Like, I don't know, like, I just needed to step back. I can't even explain why, you know. Did I lose the books that I had cut out? I don't know where they went. Maybe they're off to the side. Give me a second. Maybe I knocked them into the trash by accident. So yeah, it was in the trash. It was looked like that, so I had just tossed it in there. But I feel like I need something else on this page, so I think I'm going to go with one of these. I think I just need, like, something else. I'm thinking maybe this section here. So I'm going to trim that out. Where do I want to start? I'm going to start with this white part and we'll see. So yeah, I'm taking things really slow. I don't want to, like, I don't know, spook the muse, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to, like, overwhelm myself again and then be like, okay, this is it, I'm done forever. So I've just been taking things super slow and kind of seeing what happens. I started free writing again. Well, I can show you. I have this notebook that I do free writing exercises in. So basically I, like, pick a word and then whatever comes to mind, I just kind of, like, write. It's like word association, and then it kind of turns into phrases and things. So it ends up being almost kind of like poetry, but not quite like poetry. I don't know, it's free writing, it's hard to explain. But so I've ended up, like, I stopped doing that too. I used to do that as well quite a bit, and then I just stopped, and I started that like a week ago, and I've done it almost every day since. The days that I work outside the home, I have not done it because being an introvert, working all day outside my home, like, it takes a lot out of me. It just, by the time I get home, I'm just done. I'm so exhausted. I don't even know how to explain it. If you're an introvert, you know, but it just takes so much out of you to be around people all day long, plus physically working. So on those days, I, like, don't even bother trying, you know, because I just know that I'm it's too much for me. But on the days that I work from home, I always start my day with my morning pages, as I have done since the pandemic started, like I said. And then I've been doing like the free writing exercise right away after that. And I've just to make it easy so I don't have to like think of what word to use, I've just been taking the day's Wordle, whatever the answer was, and that's the word that I use for my free writing exercise for the day. And it only takes like maybe a minute or two, if that, because it's just whatever comes into your brain after the first word, and you just keep it going until the page ends. And it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed doing that again. Yeah, I'm just kind of like testing the waters, wading in and seeing how things go, and trying not to pressure myself, and I don't know, just take it as it comes. And I would love it if I got back to writing again, but like I said, I'm kind of scared to push, so I don't know. We'll see. All right. Anything else? I feel like I need, I don't know. Do I want like a few little pops of color maybe? Is there anything else? I do like this blue damask here. Maybe I could just like incorporate a few little bits of that, like on the edges. Let's try that and see how that looks. Be nice to have a little bit more blue, especially on this page. I only have just those two items, and then on this page there's so much more. So I do need something down there to kind of cover that. I wonder if I can slide it under that flower so I don't have to cover it up. Just pick a few places here and there to add some extra color. Just cut that down a little bit thinner. So yeah, for those of you who've been asking, that's the story. And if you haven't been wondering, sorry about that. But yeah, that's just what's been on my heart this month. So it seemed, you know, appropriate that that would be the theme for this month's spread. I would have never ever known that that was where this was, what this month's spread would be at the beginning of the month. This is all just happened in the last couple of weeks. Like I said, you know, like a few days into NaNoWriMo, I just started feeling this longing, I guess, for those days, and kind of just spiraled into this. So we'll see what happens, but I'm hopeful. I would love to get back to that again, because it's just such a huge part of who I am and how I feel about myself, you know. Like I said, it's kind of been hard to figure out, well, if I'm not going to be a writer, like, what am I, you know? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? Because my kids are getting older, they won't be home forever, and then what? I just always figured that I would be writing in my later years when life was a little more peaceful, and I don't know, so we'll see. Up there. Alright, so I trimmed out this little floral section from the other side, the other paper there, and I think I just want to add that maybe right there, just to kind of balance out this large floral down at the bottom. So I'm going to add that, and then I think I'm going to grab my white gesso. Just felt like something was missing up here, so I think that will be just the thing. There we go. Yeah. Alright, so the white gesso I'm using is from Pro Art, and I will link that down below as well, but any white gesso will do. And what I'm going to do with this is just kind of knock back some of, you know, the differences in the paper. There's a lot going on right now. It's quite busy, so I just am going to take my finger, dip it in, and then kind of like blend the transitions between some of this stuff, you know. Just kind of make it look like it belongs together a bit more. Not so separate. So I did lose my whistle stop receipt over there, but that's fine. I know it's there, and it's not really about the individual places. It was more like just reminding me of that day that, you know, that my husband and I spent together. Like I said, usually I don't have that much luck. Like when I go to the antique stores, which we don't do very often, like maybe once or twice a year, we'll go and maybe I'll find, you know, one or two things or even just a couple. But this time, like every single store I went into had something that I just fell in love with. And that doesn't happen, you know, because even though I love these things with these stories, like I'm pretty picky. I want them to be in good condition, and I'm not just going to buy like any old vintage book or whatever. Like it needs to either have a really beautiful cover so it would look nice on display, or it needs to be something that's significant to me, you know, like I read it in my childhood, or I can remember, you know, I don't know, my grandparents talking about it, or, you know, it has to have like some significance to me. And, well, I ended up only buying one vintage book, and it was because it had a beautiful cover. It was by Emily Post. She's the lady who wrote the columns in the newspaper about manners, right? I'm pretty sure that's who Emily Post was. But anyway, I just saw that and I picked it up and started to read it, and I really liked how it was written, and so I thought, okay, well, I'll take this one home with me. That was the only book that I bought. I do have like a whole, it's a small shelf, but I do have a whole shelf devoted to vintage books. But it's only like, it's a very small bookshelf. But anyway, yeah, this day, like everywhere I went, I also collect not only vintage ink wells, but ink bottles. So the bottle is the ink that you would buy at the store with the ink in it, and then you would pour it into an ink well, which is usually like cut glass, or like I said, they can be brass or something else. So I found a few ink bottles. I found some ink wells. Those are actually pretty hard to find. Like for me, I don't see a lot of them around where I am, but they had them in every store I went into, and we went to like 5 stores that day. So that was pretty cool. So I was able to add to my collection. I even saw some vintage typewriters, but I don't have any more room to put them. I only have room on the top of my one bookshelf for 2, and I already have 2. One I bought myself, and then one my dad found in an old house. He was actually doing a job for some people, and he was like, if you want to, they were like moving, it was like an inspection, and he said, if you're not interested in keeping this typewriter, you know, I'll take this in exchange for the work. And so they gave it to him. So that one I keep because my dad got it for me, which was really cool. But the ones that I saw, like, they weren't like my dream typewriters or whatever. Like if I saw one that was like a mint green or an aqua or like a teal or something like that, that would have been really hard to say no to. But they weren't that old, so I was able to walk away from them. And like I said, I had enough other stuff that I found, like the Globe and the library card catalog, and other stuff that I was just like so thrilled with, so I wasn't too sad not getting the typewriters. But anyway, I think that's probably all that I'm gonna do with this. I feel like I've knocked back the background enough that the images that I want to be front and center are starting to, you know, come forward, which is the point. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm good. I don't like this corner though. I feel like maybe I need to do something about that. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands and see if I can find something. Maybe I could find like just another something small. I don't like this sharp corner plus the white space around it. Kind of just is jarring to me. All right, found this little floral that was left over on one of those scraps of paper. I think I'm gonna just add that in, like maybe right there. And then maybe just add another one of these little scripty bits kind of over part of it. Okay. And then I'm going to seal this all with some clear gesso. The one I'm using is the Dina Wakley Media Clear Gesso. And just gonna grab a little bit. Oh, give me 1 second. Always forget. I'm just gonna protect the pages in the front and the back so they kind of don't get glued together, because that would suck. And then I'm just gonna coat that with a layer of clear gesso. Just kind of seal everything together and prep it for what's next. And then once I'm done with this, I'm just gonna dry this with my heat gun, because this takes a little bit to dry and I need to get moving. I have no idea how long this video is again. I'm sure it's a longer one, unfortunately. Hopefully not too long. But I know my son is going to be getting home from school very soon, so I need to finish up. Alright, I think that is pretty dry now. So I'm going to come in with some of my Faber-Castell Gelatos. This color here is Blue Sapphire. And I just want to add a bit of extra color around the edges, kind of create almost like a frame. Just kind of adding it and then rubbing it with my finger to soften that color a bit. I can add a little more and a little less, just depending on the look I'm going for. This one here, this is called Coral. Let me see how this color looks. Yeah, I think I do like that together with the blue. So I don't know about you guys. My house has not been a quiet one this month because the World Cup has been on, and everyone in my family, all of my children and my husband are huge soccer fans. So it has just been non-stop noise with all the games on. It was really hard to find a day when I could film out loud. But thankfully, my oldest son had college classes today. My youngest son is in his last year of high school, so he had classes. He's back to school today for the first time since Thanksgiving break. And my middle son is home. You may have just heard him clapping. He's watching it upstairs, so thankfully it's not too noisy down here, but yeah, this is like a rare opportunity. I was like, oh, I better film today, no matter how bad I feel, because, or how bad I sound with this cold, because there aren't very many opportunities like that this month. Like just a little. Oh, see? It was that thermal paper. So it's gone. That receipt. Oh well, thank goodness for the pink one. So that makes me feel less bad about this one's going too. It'll be gone before you know it. Makes me feel less bad about covering that one up because it would have disappeared too. So, oh well. Now I know. I'm glad I had that pink one from that store. That store only takes cash, so he just writes you out an invoice. I forgot to save my receipts, and I remembered late at night. I was thinking like, oh man, what am I going to art journal about this month, and what the heck am I going to use as my personal item? And then I remembered that I had these receipts and that they'd already gone out into the trash, so I had to go out to the garage and dig through the garbage can. Don't worry, they were in the paper bags from the store, so they weren't like disgusting, and they were still kind of on top, so it wasn't like I had to go dumpster diving or anything, but I actually dug through the trash to save my invoices from the antique store. So yeah. All right, I think I'm going to look for a title next. So I'm going to go to my Tim Holtz Ideology Small Talk stickers, and I'm going to flip through and see what I'd like to use today. Looks like it's a white month since I alternate every month, and last month I did black. So let me just look through and see what I want to use. Okay, so immediately jumping out at me is this Live, Create, Tell the Story. So definitely that. And then I think this Darling, You Are a Work of Art. I think I just need to speak kinder to myself and kind of own that. I don't know, I have this imposter syndrome where I don't like to call myself an artist, even though I literally live and breathe art in all of its forms every day. I work, you know, my regular job in a pottery studio. I make YouTube videos. I am or was a writer. Like, everything is about art. That's like all I care about. I mean, not all I care about, but it's where my passion is. So I need to speak kinder to myself and remember that what makes a person an artist is doing art, and it's okay to own that. Maybe one more. Let me look here. Thought I had one more. Own your dreams. Let's see how that works. This one is going to go last. Maybe let's start backwards. I don't know, I feel like it needs something over here though. Let me just take another look. So I think I'm going to take this one, Remember to Play, because that's kind of like the free writing exercises that I've been doing and the Pinterest boards and all of that. That's like the creative aspect that I love so much, is that kind of just play, that whimsy. And then maybe I'll put this one here. Okay, I can pull these out now, and I'm going to start by kind of outlining these. Just roughly draw your eye to them and just kind of make them feel more integrated. let's see, maybe just a few little lines here and there. Not too many, but just to make it look a little bit more interesting and hand-drawn. Just wherever, here and there. You don't have to do this step if you don't, you know, if it doesn't resonate with you, but just helps like the, you know, your focal images stand out a tiny bit more, and I don't know, gives it that little bit more of a human touch, you know, because you've altered it yourself. It's not just something that you've cut out of a magazine or paper pad or whatever the case is. Like I said, it doesn't have to be everywhere, just kind of here and there, just to pull focus. All right, maybe a little bit up here too, otherwise it kind of seems out of place. Okay, I think I want to do some splatter because we've got some splatters going on here, so I think a few more might be nice. Let me see what color ink I'd like to do. It'd be nice if I could do a navy instead of like the usual black or white that I typically do. So let me see what I've got. Let's try some chipped sapphire distress oxide ink. Let's see how that looks. Kind of looks like pen ink, you know, and I always write with blue pens. I don't know what it is. I just like blue ink. At least like my morning pages or like any notes that I do, my meal planning for the week, all of that is with blue pen. So I don't know what I have against black pens, but I just like blue. I don't know. Maybe it's because sapphires are my birthstone for September, so I just like dark blue. Maybe it has something to do with that. I don't know. But anyway, I'm just gonna mix up a little bit of this. I almost want to darken it a bit though, so maybe before I splatter that, I'm gonna just add a touch of black soot to it. So I'll just like, oh, I'm getting it all over my hand. That's all right. I'll just add that black soot to it to make it a little more inky. Let's try that. It's a pretty good match for the ink that's already on the paper. Yeah, I really like that. I don't want to go like too crazy, but maybe just a little bit more there. I think that's good. I don't want to like go nuts. I just want it to be a nice accent, so I'm going to leave that. I need a date. Today is October 29th, or November 29th. So let me just get that on there, my date stamp, and then I'm using Ranger Archival ink, and just get that inked up. And I think I'm just going to put it right down here. There we go. I kind of wish I had done something more in this top corner right there, but I don't know what I could do at this point that wouldn't like smear the ink, you know. You know what? Hold on one second. I do have an idea. I wonder if I just brought in a little bit of this Inca Gold metallic rub. That might make it look like a gilt edge page of a book. So maybe I'll just try like a touch of that. just to give it, I feel like it needs something else. Just gonna stick my finger in it, and I'm not gonna go too crazy because, like I said, I will smear those ink splatters if I do too much, but just a little bit, maybe just the corners. I like that. Just kind of let it fade off on the top. Just take whatever's left on my fingers and kind of rub a tiny bit of it on the edges. Well, I guess I did take a little more. There we go. I think that's good. Alright, I am now going to call it done before I go too crazy. Alright, so that was my November art journaling spread, and thank you guys so much for watching and spending your time with me today. I really hope you enjoyed the story time. I know it was a long one, but yeah. Hopefully now you know a little bit more about me, and thank you again for watching. I'll see you next month with another art journaling video, and of course with lots more card making content in the meantime. Alright, talk to you soon. Bye bye.